There were readings and the workshops. There was so much to do in Delhi. But here we had nothing to do in Mumbai, and we had no money in our pocket and no work. So the frustration was at its peak. So I said, Shyam Babu, from which angle I look like a prince? Then he made me, sit down and said, look at these photographs of the real prince. Aren't you far more good looking than them? Many of the critics, I must tell you, few of them actually, most of them appreciated me. But few of them found it very difficult to digest the fact that I was the prince. Even if you don't want to make enemies, it's just your sheer audacity, creates so many enemies. But I knew one thing, that one day all of them will understand me, and they understood.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Quint. Today we're with a guest who I am frankly honored to be with. Okay, Manoj Bajpayee sir. मुझे याद है बचपन में मैंने शूल देखी, मुझे तो समझ में नहीं आया था. But I remember being fascinated by just the craft that goes into it.
Right.
But before that, let's go back पूरा बचपन में. आप भी एक गांव में बड़े हुए हैं. I remember I grew up in a village and that shaped my life in a way जो मुझे लगता है शायद सिटी में ना होता. Is that something that is also true for you?
It's true for anyone who is born and brought up in a village. The life in the villages are completely different. The purpose and the goal of an urban city boy is far, far different from a boy of the same age growing up in a village. A village child, when he opens his eyes and the things that he sees around, the vastness of the earth that he sees around him, there is, in his mind, he doesn't see any limit. Whereas a city-bred boy, when he's opening his eyes, he only sees limitation. He only sees obstacles when it comes to moving, when it comes to activity, when it comes to even dreaming. For a village boy, जिसको हिंदी में कहते हैं कि जहाँ तक देखो वो जगह हमारी है, उड़ने को आसमां है और धरती हमारी है. There are such great compassion that a village person feels, not only with the family person, but also with the immediate society member, also with the dog who is just kind of loitering around, also with the bird. At what time she comes and what time she goes away, even that villager understands and knows it.
Right. क्योंकि मतलब गांव में we would often just जैसे कैरी हो गई है ना, पेड़ से तोड़ के खा लेते थे, but we would also know कि इस टाइम पे बंदर आते हैं तो इस टाइम पे बाहर नहीं जाना है.
नहीं.
Right. So it was, और यहाँ जैसे नेबर्स जो थे वो एज फैमिली, पर अब शहर में तो उतना नहीं होता कि कौन किसका नेबर है, कौन उतना कोई जानने वाला स्कोप ही नहीं है.
नहीं होता है, बिकॉज खास करके मुंबई जैसा शहर बच्चों के लिए है नहीं. When the city was growing, developing, it was only developing for the people who are in age of being productive. The city, if you see, it doesn't provide anything to them, to the children or to the aging people. And that is where urban society went wrong completely. To give you an instance, I must tell you that eventually we had to put our daughter in the boarding nearby, because for every small class we had to make an effort to go to some place for her to learn something. For every open space we had to travel a few kilometers for her to play in some park, which is not huge. Later on we got lucky and we have a building which has its own small park, but how many people can afford it? How many children can even think of playing in those parks?
Your introduction to Indian cinema, how did that happen?
Oh, there are too many memories actually. I studied in a small town, district town. So my father was a film buff, my mother was a film buff. So they used to be in the villages, but they used to travel. Whenever there was a vacation, they used to come to the city, and take the permission from our boarding, and get us out of the boarding, and used to stay with them for 3-4 days. And through all 3-4 days, we were treated with one film a day. Okay, because it was a break for them, And in the village, they never got to see any films, so it was a treat. It was a picnic time for them, and they never shied away from showing those films to their children. And it was amazing. For us, we always look forward to that. I personally look forward to it because everything that was happening on the screen, for me, that was magic. I didn't want that film to end. What used to make me feel sad when it was the end credit. Uh, that's how my relationship with cinema has developed. And I've seen all kind of films because it was a small town. So new film, new released, never arrived so soon. All the exhibitors used to get it a little later on because the new film used to be very, very expensive for them. So they used to let the film go a little old and the pricing of the film go lower, so that they could afford to get it to their cinema hall. But meanwhile, we used to watch films from black and white era, from 50s, 60s, 70s. We were treated with all kind of films, from Hunter Wali to Pyasa to Bimal Roy's Deodas to Sagal's Deodas. And I used to enjoy. I just used to enjoy black and white, color, anything. I just wanted to be inside the cinema hall and nothing else.
When you, if I'm not wrong, you moved to Delhi at 17, right? So
I know, 18 and a half.
18 and a half. Okay, so why Delhi as a city?
Yes, I realized that, I know nothing about acting. And I read it somewhere that there is national scope drama, from when Mr. Nasiruddin Shah and Mr. Raj Babbar, who just hit the big screen, they studied from there, and it gives diploma in acting in theatre. So I thought that this would be best for me to go to Delhi and finish my graduation and also do theatre at the same time and go for national school of drama. And then my father doesn't need to support me because NSD is supported by the government, and it will give me a scholarship, and I didn't have to worry about food and accommodation, and I'll only be learning theatre and acting. But it never happened to be true. I was rejected. And then, by then I was graduate and I've done enough theatre, but I still wanted to do theatre professionally. So I went ahead and learned a lot. I've attended many workshops, more than 100 to 100 workshops I attended. I have done so many plays outside. I've directed many plays. I've written 2 plays. So 10 years of complete, attention to theatre. That has made what I am today. That has made the person and the actor that I am. And I very proudly say this. I flaunt it that I've done theatre for these many years, because somewhere I knew that if I have to come to this big bad world of Hindi film industry, I have to be prepared, because there is nobody who is here to finance me, to finance my films, to support me, to hold my finger and give me guidance. It is only my craft who will save me, who will protect me, who will show me the path. Only for that reason I have given all of those many years just learning the craft and be confident of my own self as an actor.
What was it about theatre, right, that you maybe say prefer or love the most?
It's the actor's medium. In cinema, you don't feel that whatever the final product is only your doing. Cinema is primarily a director's medium, and all the other departments are putting their best foot forward to turn into a piece of art which director has envisioned. Okay, so you don't feel complete. You don't feel that it's your doing. A bad performance can be really edited very well and turned into a good performance. And a good performance can be really ruined by a bad background music. Okay? So there are so many people contributing to that one particular scene. This is where theatre, is so important for all the actors. If they really want to be uh, good in their craft, because theater challenges you, it tests you, it forces you to be emotionally, physically, and spiritually perfect and strong. And it not only makes you a better actor, but also makes you a very good human being. It compels you to read, watch, uh, and it also somewhat demolishes the myth that actor is only supposed to act. No, actor can only act if he's aware of all the other things in the world. He has to read. He has to read, extensively. He has to be aware of the world, the politics, the economy, the biology, all of it.
So learning acting is not just acting seekhna, it's
It's
learning
everything.
everything,
It's
right?
everything. It's everything. You have to go to a concert where Bhimsen Joshi ji is singing, and if you are not able to appreciate it because you have no exposure in classical music, then then get that exposure. It forces you. It forces you to appreciate many other things that you never thought that you would require to do it to be a good actor.
Absolutely. So what was theater ke baad? Also, theater gave you the skills that you needed, absolutely. And of course, you attended workshops and आपने काफी studying की है, acting की. But what was the entry into the industry like?
It just happened. That was a miracle, you know. Not every actor can think of. Not it doesn't happen to all the actors. We were doing theater in Delhi when, uh, in the name of channels, there was only DD, okay, Doordarshan, and Z Cinema now started coming in when Mr. Shekhar Kapoor uh, decided to make Bandit Queen with all the theater actors. And that's when he had Tigmanshu Dhulia, who was in Delhi, doing TV here and there. He was known to us because he was from National School of Drama. We used to bump into each other. He used to watch our plays, quite appreciative of our art. And that is when Tigmanshu was given the job of introducing few actors to Shekhar Kapoor.
So he was casting then.
He was the casting director, and that's when he took me to Mr. Shekhar Kapoor, and I was finalized for Manse. So that was my introduction to cinema with the best, okay, with the absolute best.
Before Satya, right? Between say your first few films and Satya, do you think there was more learning that happened, or like was there? Did you at some point feel ki there's still a lot to do?
I mean, those years were very tough, I would say. It was doing theater, and not having money in your pocket was not a struggle, I would say, because the focus was completely on the craft, and there were readings and the workshops. There was so much to do in Delhi, but here we had nothing to do in Mumbai, and we had no money in our pocket and no work. So the frustration was at its peak.
And it's a tough city also.
Yeah, it's a tough city, and there was nowhere to go to. So that was the time. In a couple of years, I realized that I just can't sit down and do nothing and wait for the work to happen. And there was no system in this industry. There was no casting directors, nothing, no script, nothing. It was just like hitting in the darkness. That was the time I decided to memorize few short stories and prepare it with a friend of mine, and we started doing things which we could do on our own and show it to our friends. Every day, we used to improvise. It gave me a lot of happiness in a city which was impersonal. There was no place to go to, and every other person who was there was not interested in you because you had nothing to offer. Okay, so yeah, those 4 or 5 years were terrible for me. For the person who's been busy in theater for 18 hours a day, 19 hours a day, I never complained. With no money in the pocket, never complained about anything.
Satya mein jo aapka role tha was so widely acclaimed. Even now, I think it's till date people see it as a cult character of Indian cinema, right? So how do you think that role affected your career?
It has given me a career. I forget about affecting my career. So Satya, Biko Mahatria has given me a career. Ram Gopal Varma has really believed in me, and I was raring to go. I had so much to offer. But my interpretation of Bhikkhu Mahathire clicked with the audience, and Mr. Ram Gopal Verma was a miracle for me. It just changed my life. If I'm sitting here talking to you, it's also primarily because of Satya and Bhikkhu Mahathire.
So how has working with Ram Gopal Verma been? Because there were two other films that you worked on. Satya se pehle bhi ek film thi.
He's a rebel. He's been a rebel all the time. He never toes the line of the world. He thinks very differently. His line of thinking is sometimes can really throw you off. But that's what he is. An industry which was driven by the box office and the conventional stuff and the formula films. Every studio we used to go to, only songs and dances were being filmed. Very few times we could drop in on a set where scenes were being shot. In that time, where stars were running supreme, this man had the guts to go ahead and make an absolutely unconventional film on Mumbai Mafia with absolute newcomer. Okay? And he ran from pillar to post to find the finance. And he found it. He found it. He made his film. He proved everyone wrong. He not only made Satya, Shul and Korn with me, but he also somebody who has changed so many people's career, including Anurag Kashyap or Saurabh Shukla, so many others. He is somebody who's changed the film industry, the way it was functioning. So today we are very proud of the contents that we are making. The seed was sown there. Ram Gopal Verma, primarily, because he really ignited the whole movement. And earlier it was Shekhar Kapoor and Mani Ratna.
I think some of that credit also goes to you as playing a character that wasn't, say, part of the commercial space, mein whatever we were seeing, right? Matlab, a lot of actors like K.K. Menon also said that you opened doors for method actors, right? Outside of...
You know what happens in our film industry? When one kind of actor, breaks the ceiling, they start believing not only in that actor, but also the actor of his kind. Okay? And I'm so happy that the great actors like K.K. Menon and Irfan, somewhere followed after that. And we just happened to be in that time, and we just happened to be as angry as Mr. Ram Gopal Verma or Anurag Kashyap, for that matter. So it was the anger, it was the hunger in the tummy. We wanted to just showcase our ability, our definition of cinema and acting, and all of us happened to be just in the same time, with the same intention and with the same anger.
But being that actor who breaks that ceiling is not easy, I'm sure.
It's not easy. It's not easy. You have to be somebody who has to have loads of belief in you. Any actor in my place after Satya could have taken the money and done 50 films and done the same kind of things and would have retired or disappeared in oblivion. But somewhere I was not ready to do that. God has given me that strength to stick to my gun and do things differently, keep doing things differently. And one thing that I was blessed with was the stubbornness and the patience. Yeah. So most of the actors who in my place after Satya would have bought few properties, in a couple of years. I was living on rent for another 7 years, 8 years. Because I was not ready to succumb to the formula or to the stereotype. Yes, you make enemies, even if you don't want to make enemies. It's just your sheer audacity, creates so many enemies. But I knew one thing, that one day all of them will understand me, and they understood. Now, all of those people somewhere didn't believe in me or they didn't understand my attention. Now they don't feel angry with me. Rather, they say that they couldn't get me. But I feel happy that finally I have been able to do things differently, and do things my way.
I think now the idea of say commercial has changed, especially with like OTT and projects similar. But at the time, at when you were doing these films, commercial hero का एक specific meaning था. So you weren't interested in fitting into that.
I was not. It's not that I could not dance. Go ahead and watch Beofa. Okay. That's the kind of dancing which was required those days, and that's the kind of dancing I could do. I wanted to be part of stories, and those stories I was not getting. I was kind of an actor who was more interested in solid characters, characters that I walk upon, and I could show various aspects of my actor in every film. So formula films or the commercial films didn't have that space. They had only one specific space for me after Viku Mahatre was of a negative role, and that negative role is not going to be different in any film. So I have done negative roles, but I have done negative roles which I thought is should be called negative. That was my definition. Even Aks was in
You've done
negative role.
comedies also.
I've done comedies also. I chose things, which suited me or my interpretation, my definition of comedy or negative. And many times I've succeeded in doing what exactly what I wanted to do. But I've been lucky. At the same time, how many people can even go that way and really go ahead and really accomplish it? I have gone like this. I have come like this. I have gone like this again, and then I came down like that. But never, even once, when I was going up, that I lost my mind. Never once that I went down, I felt depressed. No, because my passion and love for the craft has been far, far superior to all the ups and downs that I have experienced in my life or in my career.
There was a time, I think 2000s, early 2000s beach mein where,
Right.
like you're saying, there are
Right.
ups and downs.
Oh,
right?
definitely.
Yeah, but at that time, I think even though the films weren't blockbusters as such, your acting performance in a lot of those films was still appreciated.
Right.
So did that period kind of change how you saw success?
Success for me has never been about the box office. Success for me was the day when I made the first check, got the first check for my acting. That was the day I realized that I'm an actor, I'm a professional actor, and this is what I wanted to be. So that was the day which I call successful. After that, you really can't define anything as successful. Here, people define anything as successful, any actor or film successful, in terms of the box office numbers. I refuse to be defined by that. I always, even if Satya was successful, or Zubeida was successful, or Shul was successful, I refuse to be defined by that meaning of success. If Family Man is huge with people internationally, I refuse to be defined by that. I I sh- I should be defined by the work that I do. That is what my strength. Tomorrow, you you may encounter a film Manoj Bajpayee or a series of Manoj Bajpayee, which will not be that great, which will not be lapped up by people. But still, even that one will not define me. What defines me is my work and how I do it and what I do it.
अभी सबका हर प्रोजेक्ट तो सक्सेसफुल नहीं हो सकता है.
Yes, it's
unrealistic.
It's unrealistic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you brought up Zubeida. Take us behind the scenes of Zubeida, of shooting it, of how you got into the project.
Mr. Ram Gopal Varma once told me that I should call Shyam Benegal ji because he's willing to cast me in his film. So I called him up. I always wanted to work with him. Such a great man. Went up to him, to his office. Then he told me about this prince and this woman, Zubeida, his second wife. And I was surprised and shocked. And I felt nervous. I said, Shyam Babu, from which angle I look like a prince? Then he made me, sit down and said, look at these photographs of the real prince. Aren't you far more good looking than them? So don't look at the princess as a calendar image. In real life, they look like this. Okay. And then he started working on me. He gave me many tips to get into the character externally and internally, because that's the life I was not aware of. And I was getting a chance to work with Rekha ji, and she was playing my first wife. I was quite nervous at the same time excited about it. And Karishma, who was one of the biggest heroines of that time, she was going to be opposite me. So I was there. I was enjoying every day. I was enjoying all my time on the set, looking at Karishma, looking at Rekha ji, uh, playing those roles, looking at Shyam Babu, who was who was in my list of the directors on the top. So everything right was happening for me.
Just a
Okay,
fabulous team.
yeah, it was
Zubaida's
a
team is
yeah, fabulous,
yeah.
and it did well. I was appreciated so much for that role. Many of the critics, I must tell you, few of them actually, most of them appreciated me, but few of them found it very difficult to digest the fact that I was the prince. Somewhere they were not able to digest the fact that a not so good looking man conventionally,
Calendar image.
yeah, calendar. I mean, he has played this role and he played it well. Initially, I found it quite insulting, but I realized that it's just the image that they have in their mind, and somewhere Shyam Babu, by casting me, broke that myth and the definition that they had in their mind.
So it's not a you problem, right?
Yeah,
Huh.
it's their problem, and that's how they used to see a prince. But somewhere Shyam Babu has really helped them in looking at it differently.
Absolutely, absolutely. In a lot of your roles, you have played these characters जिसमें the focus is on this character.
Right.
Even though like there are, of course, the cast is there, the story is there, but there is a focus on this. Even Aligarh, for example. So is that a difficult thing to do when you know that you are essentially pulling the story forward?
It's a lot of challenge, lot of responsibility on your shoulder. You better be good. That drives me. That drives me to do well. That drives me to prepare very hard. I'm a mad guy, possessed when I'm preparing. I don't even get out. I don't go anywhere. Even if I'm going out, I am sure that I have done a lot of work to really deserve to get out and have my dinner or drinks with my friends. But even there, I don't talk much. I'm possessed. I'm only thinking. I'm only thinking, trying to find the right sur, trying to find the character. Uh, but yeah, that's how it goes. I love it. I love being uh, the center part of it. That gives me a lot of drive.
With all the actors you've worked with, and you've worked with a variety of actors. You've
Right.
worked with Amitabh Bachchan, Rekha, as you mentioned, and
So many.
yeah,
Ajay,
Urmila Matondkar. There's a
Urmila
lot of
Matondkar,
people.
yeah.
Yeah, because Kaun is one of my
Raveena
favorite
Tandon,
films.
Tabu,
Huh.
uh, Karishma Kapoor, so many, and those were the heroines of that era. Then actresses from the time after them, and now I'm working with completely new ones. So uh, I think three generation now, and I'm giving interview to the Quint on video, where the two mics are there. That the world has changed.
Just everything is changing.
Yeah.
Formats, yeah, understandable. But my last question to you would be that if you could say maybe one thing to the 18-and-a-half-year-old who reached Delhi, what would it be?
What should I tell him? I said, kudos, son. You took the right decision. Yeah.
So no regrets at all.
Oh, no.
No, there are.
Even if God forbid, even if this hadn't happened, I was sure of one thing, that I will always be known for the work and the craft that I know, that I'm good at. So everything that is happening is bonus. I never dreamt of it. I never look at the time when I came into cinema. Uh, no actor like me, or Irfan for that matter, or KK, could even imagine that we would be given such a position in this industry. It's all thanks to the technology, and it's all thanks to those directors who believed in us, who happened to be in the same time.
Okay, but thank you so much. You are a pleasure to talk to.
Thank
But,
you.
we're so excited to have you here, and thank you so much. Great conversation.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Quint, Pratiksha. Thank you.